Welcome back to Just Africa on SOUQNews Television. This is the second segment of the show. Please, you can follow us on all social media platforms at SOUQNews TV. Like, share, subscribe, and of course, comment. And we'll read your comments during the live show. So this time, we'll be talking about building a culture of influence for Africa's future through leadership, entertainment, and health. This episode of Just Africa explores how the entertainment industry can evolve beyond applause to advocacy, shaping how communities think, live, and stay healthy. At a time when Africa's creative economy is becoming becoming the most important in the continent, we ask, are our storytellers also shaping healthier, more informed societies? Amulu. Do you think our storytellers are shaping the stories that we see in our entertainment industry, in the creative industry these days? Do you think they are making our society a healthier society, or we are just doing our thing?
So from research, we've seen that storytelling has gone beyond just entertaining you, right? You can use storytelling to fight for social change. You can use storytelling for beyond just advocacy, for making impact, to change policy, to change behavior, also to change the way of life, people's culture. And I do like the fact that one of the things that Africa owns as a natural characteristic is how to tell stories. In fact, the problem we've now had is we are beginning to embrace modernism, which is another person's culture, in the guise of modernism, and beginning to lose our own identity and the way we tell our stories. Because never a time would an elderly person share a story with a younger person from another generation without having to tell a message in the story that they're telling. But right now, what we just do is we just tell a story, and then you're asking yourself, so what am I getting out of this? Right? What is the message in it? Sometimes you might even get the end from the beginning, and you're like, so what's the essence of going through the whole process? Right? But I do feel like the norm can change if we can go back to the way we were and how we tell our own stories. It can help our generations get better.
Okay, so to help us unpack that question is Sakris AKWARANDU. He is an award-winning broadcaster, Nollywood actor, director, and UNICEF-certified breastfeeding and lactation management consultant. He is a veteran of Nigeria's creative and media landscape. With over 35 years of broadcasting excellence and nearly 3 decades in Nollywood, he represents a new kind of cultural leadership, one that fuses storytelling with responsibility and influence with purpose. Our guest brings a rare blend of creativity, mastery, and health advocacy. He believes leadership in entertainment goes beyond fame. It's about influence that transforms lives. Sakris AKWARANDU, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to see you both. I mean, you guys are good.
Emmanuel,
well, you guys are good.
It feels somehow to entertain your director. Sakris is actually my guest.
Yeah, but I need to give us that kind of accolade. I'm feeling like a celebrity already.
My first stage play at the National Theatre was directed by Sakris. The reason I'm carrying no cuts right now is Sakris.
No, I made her a meal.
And then she stayed with the character.
I don't know about that.
Sakris, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I mean, I love your station.
Almost 40 years in the industry, in broadcasting, acting, director. I know you're good at it. So I don't need it. Sakris, how are you able to put all these together?
Well,
being a broadcaster, working with UNICEF, directing movies, and all these, and you're still trending.
You know, a broadcaster, a journalist, and so let me say a media practitioner and a theater practitioner can become anything.
Okay.
Once you are called and you have it in you, the next step is, where do I practice it?
Yes.
And the field is so large, so you can practice anywhere. That's one. Then two, there are no pretensions in this industry. What you're not, you're not. What you are, you are. I watch people and listen to them. They try to anglicize the way they speak, but they pronounce words badly. So are you not deceiving yourself? And then a Briton would ask me, what is she saying? And I say, well, I don't understand. But she's supposed to be speaking English. If you don't know it, you don't know it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But there's also another component to it. You've got to learn every day. So as you practice, you learn. And as you learn, you give out so that you can have more. So my cup is always half empty.
Okay.
Not half full.
Half full, yes. Because if it's half empty, there's always something to
beat me.
Yeah. But then again, I know we're touching into like 3 different strata today in our conversation: your journey as a journalist, and then leadership, and then health. Right?
Yeah.
So let me tie the one for leadership.
Go ahead.
You've gone through over 35 years. I mean, the numbers are just great.
Just go ahead.
So if you've merged this all through, how do you perceive leadership, especially in Nigeria and Africa collectively? How do you see the kind of leadership that we have?
I'm going to shock you. The lacuna in our leadership is because of the confusion and the followership. If you have an enlightened followership, you will have a quality leadership. So we are suffering in Africa because the followers are not interested in finding out, why are mosquitoes biting me? Why is there so much noise pollution? Why are the crops not growing? If you ask questions, you get answers. But because we live in a consumerist environment, even in religion, that's why people go to sleep in churches and in mosques without going to work, thinking that there's a God that will come down and give them food to eat. That's absolute nonsense. It's trivializing creation. The Africans are doing that. And we also have the penchant of calling someone who is working very hard a fool. Can't you see how hard you're working like an elephant and feeding like a cat? So that discourages the person that works hard. But creativity doesn't come in a whim. Creativity doesn't come like a magic wand. So you keep trying. Probably 1,000, you may write 1,000 applications to go for an interview, just one. But if you depend on whatever happens, my uncle will give me. Whatever happens, my mother will leave that house and we will rent it out. That's absolute nonsense. So you wake up in the morning, you just graduated from school, and then you just did your youth service, you started working, and the next thing you want to ride a Jeep. How does that add up? So you breed people whose expectations don't meet their work rate. Now, extrapolate that to leadership. You then have people who apply for a non-existent job with no qualification in order to become great. So you are producing people who actually do nothing, but who want greatness. But you achieve greatness, and it requires hard work, hard thinking, proper planning, purposeful engagement. But you don't have that. So take, for instance, our leaders walk in and expect that we're all fools. Give them something to eat. Or give them something to drink. Oh, you haven't paid school fees. It's okay. Come and see me on Monday. That's absolute nonsense. So why hasn't he paid school fees? That's the first step. When you now know why he hasn't paid school fees, is it your fault? That's the second thing. The third, what are we doing to help him pay school fees? Then four, what is he going to do after paying school fees? If you don't follow that process, you'll be walking in darkness.
With this potpourri of knowledge that you have, and you lent it very well, especially in terms of leadership and broadcasting journalism, as it were. How come you now decided to delve into health and lactating?
Oh, it was
breastfeeding. Why did you choose that?
Now, I'll tell you. I had a lecturer in the university. He was in the Department of Biochemistry. And I had done my first master's degree in international diplomacy before I went to Wall Street Journal to do news writing and reporting. And he met me in Lagos. What are you doing? I said, I just want to set up a business in production. But it's becoming very difficult because documentaries are not really consumed. You know, if you're an individual trying to produce documentaries, you have to produce for government and so on and so forth. He said, you know, you've always been brilliant. Do you want to get involved in health? I didn't think about it. I said, by all means, I'm interested. That's how it started. So he took me to UNICEF. Now, it was hard for people to walk into UNICEF, but I walked in.
Yeah, that story would have been great. How did you do that?
I walked in with him. He took me to the head of nutrition, who incidentally was the economic minister in Sri Lanka. And he had 5 PhDs. As soon as he told me he had 5 PhDs, I relaxed and crossed my legs. Then I knew I was talking to a human being.
Yeah.
And he said, I hear you're very good. I said, I don't know what you mean. He said, I have some tips we've done. I want you to go and put it together and bring. I didn't ask him for money. I didn't ask, how am I going to do it? I took them. Some of those pictures were so bad, but I went, and by the time I, did the script, I took it to him. He liked it. I voiced it. He said, were you in BBC? I said, these are the things I don't talk about. No, I don't talk about them. He said, okay. I finished the production, and then he played it. He said, how much? Because at that time, I told him to pay 40,000. He said he didn't have 40,000, that the budget they had was 25,000. I said, fine, bring it. So he took me to the accounts, and we did all stuff, and then they transferred the money. I came back into his office. He said, what would you want? I said, a cup of tea without milk or with sugar. He gave me that. He said, are you Nigerian? I said, I am. He said, are you sure you're Nigerian? I said, I'm Nigerian. I said, why? He said, you never thought about money? I said, no. Money should come to me. I don't have to go to money. And that's why I don't exceed my own expectations. I don't ask for what I can't get. He now asked me, how would you want to be trained? By UNICEF, free. I said, it's not even the free that is important, that you want to train me. I like it. That was how I was sent on training. As a master trainer in breastfeeding and lactation management, a master trainer in reproductive health and sexuality education. Then by the time I came back, he introduced me to someone in WHO, and the WHO trained me in neonatal and maternal mortality and morbidity. That was how I got into health. So from then, from buying palm oil, I entered the market in the health.
Yeah. Because at some point, you're not even a nurse, and then you've been training all this.
So because I allowed myself, remember, my cup is always half empty.
Yes.
So then, of course, to Johns Hopkins University to do a master's in health communication. And I came down, I have a lot of friends in Louth, and we began the process of now integrating communication with health. Now, I see people say they're doing health programs, so they don't understand what they're doing. You've got to understand what you're doing before you do it. And that's a problem with media in Nigeria.
Because that's where my next question is actually going to. Now, well, the entertainment industry, especially the media entertainment industry,
Yes.
Nollywood precisely, we've seen people who don't pay attention to their health. I don't know if you want this to be said on a live show, but you were sick. You were sick at some point, and nobody heard about it.
Nobody will.
And that included me. Yes. Nobody heard about it, and it was severe. But these days, we've seen veterans like you, when they're sick, they come on social media, GoFundMe, and trying to raise money for them, which means that some of these actors don't pay attention to their health. As a veteran, a health person, a broadcaster, what do you have to say to your colleagues that don't really pay so much attention to their health?
I tell you, first of all, I like your earrings. I mean, who designed them?
It's so crazy.
Now, you see, the first question Aristotle asked was, who are you? Man, know thyself. If you don't know yourself, you can't know your God. If you don't know your God, then you won't understand why you were made. That's very important. Now, if you understand that there's always a wear and tear in man and machines, so there will be a time when your system will wear out, but you have to repair it. Let me digress a little bit. With AI, for instance, in, say, projection, that scientists are projecting that by 2077, we don't need to have a phone, handset.
Yeah.
No, that you do yours like this and then dial, or maybe, on
the palm. Yeah,
so it will be implanted in you. But what they don't quickly tell people is that this whole system as it is, you cannot replace the brain. In other words, even if you have an implant in the brain, that implant in the brain cannot function like the brain. Now, even if we have a 3D printing of the lungs, 3D printing of the kidneys, you cannot print the arteries, you cannot print the nerves, you cannot print the nephrons, you cannot print the synapses in the system. So man will still belong to God, not to machines. So, as a broadcaster or an actor or a performer, whatever you do, you've got to know that you operate within a society. If that society is disease-ridden, you will be disease-ridden. You can't run away from it. So in other words, understanding yourself and the limitations of a performance of your system is very important. Now, if I had blood clot in my lungs, that's what I had. Why would I tell people? It's not their business. Now, because I understood exactly how my system works in any case, so I knew I was going to have problems in breathing. I was going to have cough that may not go easily. Now, I may have had what you call pulmonary embolism, and that is stroke. All right, and stroke is stroke. There's no partial stroke, there's no permanent stroke. So I would have had stroke. So now we've got to probe, where did it take place?
Yes.
I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have a diabetes situation. I didn't have an accident. So where is it from? So I had to go for tests from Lagos to Abuja. And then for there to be a resolution as to what made blood clot to appear in my system. And that's it. So I need to know. So, and if you also dabble into things that externally would affect your internal organs, you drink too much, you smoke too much, sex is good even if it's overrated, you waste so much time on sex. Now the tendency is that your body will become an alien to you. All right, because as you go on, a lot of things will begin to happen to you. Your lungs begin to fail you, your kidney will begin to have a problem, your heart could be overloaded, and then the arteries could be blocked. So how do you empty your system? So it's important for you to know. Take, for instance, my handset has a 7G protective device that if I get to anywhere, even if it's 7G radiation, it won't affect me once I hold my phone. And because I have to go to places, so I have to do it so that wherever I go, I'm not afraid of radiation. I'm just giving you an example.
Yes.
That is also how I treat my health. And that's also how I treat my professions.
This is really quite insightful. Yes. And I do know that one of the things that we lack in this part of Africa is access to information, right? And it's a sad decimal that we have people who know, and there are few of them, and they are not heard even when they speak. Because the truth is, if these informations are out there, you'd expect more people to be able to make informed decisions. But in media, there's something called noise. So the noise takes precedence. A lot of people want to hear the noise rather than the fact itself. Many of your people of like mind, I won't say your people, of like minds, how come many of you shy away from leadership? Because essentially, you know better than the rest of the followers. How come you are not the best brains that the square pegs in the square?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I will answer you straight ahead. I have a calling. And that is what the media actually should do. We should set agenda, like you know that. Are we setting agenda? No. We should imbue change in the society positively. Are we doing that? No. We should lead to, from mobilization to conscientization. Do we do that? No. We end at mobilization, and the people are not conscientized. That's why you have religious bigotry. That's why you have taboo-teen gods. The reason is because someone tells you that if you shake my hand, you go and see God. And you don't, the media doesn't tell the people that that's a lie. You can't shake this guy's hand and go to see God. How does that happen? The media now eulogizes him, and then he becomes a spectacle, and people begin to run him. That's why someone could tell others, don't vote for this person, and you don't interrogate that. That's why you get excited that someone says, destroy Nigeria. Now you don't ask, why am I going to do that?
Yes.
What would accrue to me if I do that? What's the essence of doing that? And that's why also when good policies come, we don't interrogate it. So the media doesn't ask questions. Let me tell you, insurgency persists in Nigeria because of media hype of the insurgents.
Okay.
So yes, because we create stories around them as if they're gods. But if we talk down on their influence, then they begin to see that they have nowhere to run to. Look, in the 80s, there was this advert, armed robber no be spirit. You guys are old enough to know. Armed robbers no be spirit. All right. It was in the media then. And it made a lot of sense, which means that the armed robber could be your neighbor. So let me tell you, the defense that is effective is knowing where you are, not who you are fighting. Once you know where you are, you know whether you're balanced enough to withstand whatever. But if you don't know where you are, you'll be afraid. You understand?
Yeah.
So the media probably contributes up to 40% of our problem. Yes, because
yes.
Issues like this we're discussing now
yes.
are seldom discussed in the media. Reason is because you have people who do what you call self-censorship in the media. You self-censor yourself.
Yes.
No, I don't want to go that way.
You're a gatekeeper for yourself.
I don't want to go through that route. It's not going to get me money. So how much are you making? And I'll tell you why the media is not that rich is because the economy itself does not sustain service industries. So the media, the hotels, theater, are dependent on an economy that is thriving. So we should work to have an economy that thrives so that people can come to ask you to promote them. So you cannot, for instance, the industrialization in Nigeria has just slightly moved from 19% to 21%. So we're coming up. So if we have 5 million small-scale industries in Nigeria, for instance, and each employs 5 people, so you have 25 million employed.
Yes.
Now, if you have 140 million people that could work, at the age of working from 75 down to 18, and you take out 25 million from the job market, then you're improving. Then if the heavy industries in Nigeria, you could have 2,000, for instance, and they employ 1 million people each. So you have 200 million. You understand?
Yes.
So in other words, the media is not letting the people understand that when the sheep is urinating on his tail and saying, I'm destroying the ground, it's the tail that is destroying. So when the cricket is screaming, I'm dying, it's from his stomach, not from the outside.
Okay, so now SOUQ is actually taking us to another realm. So SOUQ, you are taking us to another realm. But it's okay, because our cups are half empty. So there's room for more knowledge to come in. So let's look at government. How can government help or come in to support the entertainment industry and every other sector to help push out the orientation, the mindset of the importance of health? Because when we're talking about government, now we're coming back to leadership. And for what you said about leadership earlier, it's a whole lot, really.
Yeah, sure.
But right now we need to understand, how can NGOs, governments, individual use the entertainment industry to promote the importance of health in the same industry, not generally now?
You've got to, first of all, have practitioners who are patriotic.
Okay.
You see, I tell you this, Nollywood has come a long way. But when it started, it was just a matter of, let's find food to eat. Then when Mnet came in, then you began to see people who are actually trained practitioners now come out to say, well, okay, you guys are from South Africa, we're here. This is what we've got. So it was at that stage we started moving incrementally. We now have got to a point where we need to now specialize in areas. If you notice, our scripts are not wonderful. While we tell good stories, we have problems in using these scripts to achieve our end. Okay. So everything is okay. Okay, SOUQ is on a movie, and the movie SOUQ, we have to marry her. That life is not like that, my brother, my sister. Everything doesn't end in marriage. So I tell them, in fact, I have to give a talk on the 25th. I tell them, listen, we should now move towards realism. Tell the people, you don't have light is a reality. When you watch our movies, lights don't go off.
True.
Well, fair point. We don't live in New York. We don't live in London. We live here.
Yeah.
Before Tinubu came, of course, you had one grid and the thing was epileptic. So from next year, you're going to have states now who are going to own the electricity project.
Yes.
So I can decide to unplug from your own because I'm paying and I'm not getting the service.
Yes.
Maybe where's your own? Unplug on your own. Are we prepared to lead the people towards that road? No. Now, look at the issue of insurgency. Someone comes and gives you 10,000 naira. You tell them to come in and destroy your place. Then people run away. You don't farm. Of course, now with technology and good agri knowledge, you can farm 3 times in a year.
Yes.
And this land is so blessed that all year round you can keep farming.
Yes. Yes.
Why don't you make those people that drive the farmers away to know that they can become useful? But you don't do that. They give you 10,000. You truncate the process of the growth of your own environment. Now, why should someone drive cattle from Sokoto to Ogbomosho? It's mind-boggling. When between Kebbi and Katsina, you have flat land that can accommodate so many grazing reserves. And in those reserves, we can have schools, hospitals, we can have cold chains. So I don't need to go to the market and see people wielding knives that are killing a cattle or a goat or a chicken. What for? So you buy it refrigerated hygienically in packs. Then we've advanced. So you now have an idea that a kilo would cost this here. A kilo would cost this here. Ditto for every other aspect of our lives, including vegetables. That is a process. Yes. Spirits are not doing it. Humans are doing it. But you now allow someone to take cattle from Sokoto to Ogbomosho and then the process destroys people's farmlands. You are a fool. Because you're not growing.
Yes.
That is part of what our movies are supposed to do. I'll take your mind back to AKWARANDU. What was the theme? Go back to the land. And someone borrows money from the bank, puts in land. Now he has a brother that is wicked, who doesn't want that process to go on. But in the end, he triumphs. People watched it and understood it. We began to have people till the back of their homes. Now you don't even need to till the back of your home if it is full of granite. You can plant in bags.
Yes.
Why don't we have stories that move people towards that way? Now, instead of people using human beings to make money, which is fallacy, you can't use anybody to make money.
Well, organ trafficking.
It doesn't exist, except organ trafficking.
Organ trafficking,
so
yes.
Why don't we begin to move the people's minds from that to hard work? That you can fabricate something. You can make something yourself. Before now, if you go to Aba, things you buy are shipped to Benin or transported to Benin and then stamped made in Italy and brought back to Nigeria and sold. But now you see made in Aba.
Yes.
Because there's a leader that is telling them, you should be proud of what you make.
Yes.
But that also has improved the quality of what they're producing because they now know that eyes are on them. I tell you, in the 70s, I don't know how, maybe you were born then.
Yeah.
In the 70s, there was this talk about, oh, this one is Taiwan.
Yes.
So it wasn't working well. All right? But then go to Taiwan and see what they make. Yeah. Then by the 90s, Chinese things, they don't even do well. Yeah. But now, everything, almost every, in fact, it remains having a human being on the road made in China.
Made in China.
So if you don't make mistakes, you can never, ever achieve anything. And then don't make friends with someone who tells you, I never make mistakes. Forget that. Make friends with someone who said, I failed. I failed. But I took off from where I failed. That's a better person.
Wow. It's indeed a very insightful conversation. Yes. I know because of time, we may not be able to cover so much. We will definitely have to have you back again. But now that you're here, you have to touch a lot of stuff here. So I do know that the entertainment industry does their own part. And apart from the movies, there's still also the music to carry our culture beyond here. But Africa as a continent can do more because we see the potentials are here. But how do we get younger people to understand that these, like you mentioned, is a process and you don't need to jump? Because I know education is no longer alone in schools. How do we pass on this notion to them that they need to follow the process?
That's what Americans did. When you had Roger Ramjet, okay, that's the big guy that conquers the bad guy. All right? So you watch every American movie, there is actor, right? Actor know they die, right? Now, the whole idea is that it is him against the bad guys. That's what you watch. There's nothing else you watch. So they've sold that. We should also sell our own. We should sell our own. Let me tell you, I was telling someone today that when my grandfather was worshipping Amadioha, he also worshipped Chineke, Chukwu, the God that creates. But he never saw the God that creates. So he knew that Amadioha was just a messenger, a go-between to the God that creates. So you won't call him a pagan. Yes. Because he knew what he was doing. And he lived a better life than I, who would go to church every day. So if the media, the churches, the mosques, opinion leaders, politicians, political parties could let our people know that there is no way you can make an omelette without breaking an egg. Tell them there's no way you can be 10 years without passing through 1 year. Tell them that by putting in your head, let me go to Canada, for those who haven't been there anyway, let me go to Canada, let me go to this. Look, it's the same everywhere. I know that there are a lot of Canadians, moving to Germany and to Britain, and some British moving to Germany, all right, and to the United States, and some Americans who are living in America, going even to South Korea and so on and so forth. There is always migration. All right. Your place is as good as you are. You say, I hear all these things. Oh, when we travel abroad, we're one. Yes, I mean, in kindergarten, I was in a class of just 13 people, and I was the only black. This is wonderful tales. But the point is, when I came back here and I was in the midst of my own people, I mean, I can assure you that in that class of 20 people in my secondary school, all the 20 of them are important people. Yes, because the people that taught us were then telling us that you are the eyes of your nation. So when you then have a situation in which someone gets to school and comes out and says, they gave me 4 credits, this is absolute nonsense. Who gave you? It's rubbish and rubbish. That's what you gave yourself. Now, of course, you know the new education system, which will take off next year. You know the new tax system that will take off from next year. You know the new code of Nigeria First that has taken off. Let us trumpet it. Let us amplify it so that people will then learn that you don't just do anything without being intentional, without being deliberate. I have 6 different professions. It's intentional. I'm going to do another PhD next year. It's intentional. I am going to do it. It's intentional. So let us, I heard, education is fraud. I don't understand. How?
How did you get there?
Yes.
We've moved up to nanotechnology now. It's people that are thinking from E is equal to MC squared by Albert Einstein. Of course, back to the days of Aristotle, when he was talking about philosophy and science, right to nanotechnology, now to AI. It's people that are pushing it.
You're right.
Did they go to school? How is education a fraud? But you sit at the back of your house, you don't even know how to plant cassava, and education is a fraud.
Education can never be a fraud. A very big thank you to you, Sir Chris. In fact, thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Sir Chris, you have to come another day because you see this wealth of knowledge.
No.
You have to pour more. I don't think our cups are filled.
No, we are not even half yet.
So we are still half empty. Thank you very much, Sir Chris, for
pleasure.
coming today. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you. And I know you will come whenever we invite you
Hopefully.
again. So today's conversation with Sir Chris AKWARANDU has been something really, really amazing. Amalo.
I liked today's. I loved the fact that I was part of today's Just Africa conversation. First up, we started about how to campaign against gender-based violence. Having our first guest who got us emotional, by the way, I must admit. But then again, having to give us solutions-driven journalism from her own perspective and from shared experiences, and then having to now also learn from Sir Chris, who literally gave me different perspectives to life that I'm now feeling like I need to go read more and ask better questions, not just ask questions, ask better questions. As a journalist, I mean, today has been enriching, and I do hope that those who also watched today's episodes of the show had learned one or two things as takeaway.
It's a whole lot. So today's conversation with Sir Chris AKWARANDU reminds us that the leadership isn't about titles, it's about transformation. The African entertainment industry holds the keys to not just cultural pride, but public consciousness. By merging storytelling with social responsibility, creatives can champion causes that improve maternal health, youth education, and national values. So as we close, Just Africa calls for a new generation of African leaders in entertainment, storytellers who do more than entertain, but enlighten, empower, and build healthier and more resilient communities. That's the kind of leadership Africa deserves. A very big thank you to you for joining us on today's show. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQNews Television. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and of course, we'll read your comments during the live show. My name is Omevi Idolo. Until come your way next time, make sure you have an amazing day.